Welcome to the Travel Tidbits Podcast, hosted by me, Jamie Weidel, travel advisor and owner of Pineapple Escapes Travel. Join me as I share the latest travel news, top destinations, and expert tips for the savvy traveler. Because after all, travel makes life sweeter. Welcome back to the Travel Tidbits Podcast, where we dive into all things travel, destinations, tips, and industry insights, so we can help you plan your next adventure. I'm your host, Jamie Weidel, and today I'm thrilled to have one of our Pineapple Escapes agents, Kayla Madison, joining me to talk about all-inclusive vacations and why they just might be the ultimate way to travel. Kayla recently returned from a Midwest Rising Star fam trip to Sandals South Coast in Jamaica, and I can't wait to hear all about it. I've been waiting to ask her because I wanted to do it on the podcast, so let's dive in. So Kayla, welcome to the podcast. Let's start by talking about your recent trip. I want all the details. What was it like at Sandals South Coast? What did you do while you were there? Tell me everything.
Hi, yes. So we spent 4 nights at Sandals South Coast. It was beautiful. We did a lot of education, a lot of learning how to sell sandals, and then we also got to tour multiple resorts. So we got to tour Sandals South Coast, we got to tour Sandals Negril and Beaches Negril. So it was a jam-packed week, but we carved out a couple of times that we could have some fun, and experience everything.
Yeah, I saw some of your reels. They were pretty, they cracked me up. I'll be honest.
Oh yeah.
The one where Audra was the princess. Yeah.
Yep. Audra and I had a great time together. So it was amazing to learn all the different things. We kind of got some insider first knowledge on some things that are coming. And then, just being able to be at the resort and experience it yourself was priceless. At Sandals South Coast, they have the over-the-water bungalows, and we got to go tour those. It was amazing.
I might have seen a booking come through for someone for one of those.
You might have. And then, funny story, we toured the Rondeval Suites at Sandals South Coast. So it's like a big circle, and it has its own plunge pool, but then it's also connected to like a lazy river. I opened the door and almost fell in the plunge pool.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was good. They're like, actually, that's happened before, so it's okay.
So there were lots of other sales training staff from Sandals and Beaches there. And
Yep.
So you did have some classroom time. Tell me a little bit about that and what that looked like.
Yep. So our classroom time, we would go in the morning. We did learn about Island Routes, which is the excursion provider that Sandal uses at all their destinations. So it was nice to hear about that. They can do just their basic excursions that they have for everybody, but now they're really trying to personalize it and gear it towards what individuals want. So that was pretty cool to learn that if you wanted to do something in particular, they would do that for you.
Right. Yeah. And I've used Island Routes before, and they do a great job. They are a very reputable tour company. So we can definitely send our clients with them and feel safe that they're insured and everything will be handled and taken care of, and they will have a really good experience. So
Yep.
Overall, this sounds really amazing so far, but tell me more about the resorts and what you learned from touring and how that really benefits you as a travel agent.
Being able to just be there and see everything was amazing. So Sandals South Coast is very large. It sits on acres and acres of wildlife preserve, and it's kind of in a remote destination. There's nothing but the resort there, which makes it very beautiful, but also for people with mobility issues, I would make sure that I warn them about that. It's a lot of walking, and they put us in the furthest building from everything.
Of course.
Yeah, so we definitely got our exercise in, and there was times where we're like, okay, we got to run back to our room, then we got to run here. And so, I mean, it is a very large resort. And then especially compared to Sandals No Grill. Sandals No Grill, it has a very small footprint. And it's very easy for you to have a room on the lower level that you walk out of your room and you take 10 steps and you're on the beach. It was nice to be able to experience that and be able to see that. Also, side note, for anyone planning to go to Sandals No Grill, don't walk to the right when you're standing on the beach because there is a topless, clothing optional hotel right next to it. So if you're not prepared for that, you might get more than you bargained for there. But so yeah, those kind of things that I think are so important for us to be able to know and learn about. I mean, because you're not going to know that any other way unless you've been there, you've done it, you've tried it, and you can really speak to your clients about certain things. And like one thing that I would say is that for anyone going to the South Coast from the Montego Bay Airport, be prepared for a little bit of a hike. The road is very small and narrow and very bumpy and windy. And if you get car sick, you better take something.
So that's probably not for me.
Yeah. Thankfully I'm very motion sick and I had already taken everything and it was fine. But yeah, it is a long road and it is skinny and windy, and they drive on the opposite side of the road. So that also freaked me out because it felt like you were coming right at each other. So that was a little rough on the ride, but that's also one thing to let your clients know, So I think it was just invaluable.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree. I feel like, we've both toured tons of resorts, and I feel like being able to have that firsthand experience to say, you would like this because this is something to be aware of because, hey, keep in mind this. Hey, it's 10 steps to the beach. Hey, this is a really big property. You need to think about this. Hey, your transfer time is going to be this long.
Yep.
Those are all things that our clients want to know. And it's completely different Googling something than it is when you're actually there experiencing it firsthand. So, and that's why we travel. So that is definitely something that is super important and that we need to showcase to the world that's why travel agents travel so much, is because we want to be able to give those experiences to our clients and have them be a part of our knowledge, our expertise. And that's why they use us. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about like all-inclusives in general. All-inclusives kind of get thrown around a lot, and there are lots of different types of all-inclusives. Like there's budget all-inclusives, there's more luxury all-inclusives, there's big name brands, things like Sandals, Dreams, Beaches, Secrets that have a lot of name recognition. But what exactly does it mean for a traveler for them to take an all-inclusive vacation?
So with an all-inclusive, typically your flights are going to be bundled into that package. When you get on resort, all of your dining, all of your drinks, alcohol, all of that stuff is going to be included. Things that probably are not going to be included can be, certain water sports, can be things like the spa or doing different excursions. A lot of that stuff is not going to be included. But for the most part, an all-inclusive vacation is you step on resort and you can put all of your money into the safe. You get a couple, for most places, couple small bills so that you can have them to tip people. And that's all you need. I think that it's a great way to vacation.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are two types of travel. Like there are trips and there are vacations. And a trip is usually exploring, adventuring, those sorts of things, what you can do on an all-inclusive vacation. You can do excursions. There are plenty of things like at Sandals that are included as well that you can do around the resort. So it's not like you have to just lay by the beach. But if you want to just lay by the beach or by the pool, you can do that. So it can actually be a real relaxing vacation with some things thrown in. Yep. Whereas a trip, usually it's go, 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 go. and doesn't have all of those things. And I think it's also a budgeting thing. Like with your budget, if you are booking an all-inclusive, you're probably paying in full about 45 to 30 days out. And then that's all taken care of. So by the time you get there, it's all paid for. It's all handled. You don't have to worry about anything. If you want to order the steak at dinner, order the steak at dinner because it's already paid for. It's already included in your stay. And I think that makes a really big difference. And it's just easy and it's stress-free and just makes it so much easier. So, Kayla, in your experience, what are some of the biggest benefits for choosing an all-inclusive resort or an all-inclusive vacation?
So for an all-inclusive, for me, I think the biggest thing is if you're using girl math. So by the time that you step on resort, it's like you have a free trip because you have everything paid for. You don't have to worry about too much. And it's like you have a free trip using girl math. So it's a no-brainer. If you do other vacations, people doing road trips or going to Disney or any of those, you're going to have your upfront cost of having your hotel, your tickets, those kind of things. But then you also have the cost for all of the food. And I mean, we all know that everything's going up. Even going to the grocery store is a little ridiculous some days. So it's so nice to just be able to go and relax and not have to worry about budgeting or money or how much does this cost? How much does that cost? You want to get surf and turf every night of your all-inclusive? You can get the surf and turf every night. And that's just one of the things that you probably just can't do on a regular vacation. So that I think is the biggest benefit.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think that is kind of underestimated when we're looking at all-inclusive resorts. I think a lot of times, like, I'll have clients come to me and they're like, oh, I just want to go to Florida and go to the beach. And I'm like, do you realize you're going to pay almost twice as much sometimes once you factor in food, things to do, a rental car. Plus, I mean, the resorts are still expensive in some areas of Florida as well. So you could be paying twice as much for what you could get in Mexico or Punta Cana or Jamaica at an all-inclusive. And everything's taken care of. All of your food and drink is included. A lot of activities are included. So sometimes I present it that way and talk to them about like, okay, are you sure you really want to go to Florida or do you really just want a beach vacation? So I think that's something to think about as well. And I mean, obviously the best price isn't always the best value. So when you're thinking about cost and how we as travel agents match our clients, it's not always about just cost. It's about trying to get them what they want. So let's talk a little bit about that. So when you have someone reach out, what are you doing to help match them to the right resort, especially after we've seen many of them? How do we narrow that down for them?
So I have a bunch of qualifying questions that I'll ask, and specifically about the type of experience that they're looking for as a whole. Are they wanting something that's relaxing? Are they wanting something that's more party vibes? Are they, kind of that thing? I also try to ask them, what other destination they've been to, what they liked about that, what they didn't like about that. And really just trying to get a feel for the way that they travel, because the way that they travel is going to be different from the way that I travel. So trying to get a feel for that, I think is super important. And honestly, I hate asking the budget question. I hate asking that because I just feel that a lot of times you can't measure the value that you're getting in something by asking for a number. So I really try to stay away from that as much as possible and just try to talk more about what the experience they would like. And then I'll usually try to tell them, okay, well, for this type of experience, it's going to be around this much. Are you okay with that? And then start looking at the different resorts and what works. So that's kind of how I try to match it up. Is there any mobility issues? Is there any food challenges? There's lots of food allergies these days. So making sure that they go to places that they feel comfortable, especially with those kind of issues.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think really thinking about what the client wants, like it's easy to go to the resort and tell you what I like, but what I like might not be what they like. And so that's one thing that as agents we have to do. We have to see all types of resorts, even if they're not necessarily our resorts or ones that we want to stay at, so that we can match the right clients to the right trip. For example, a group of seniors in high school who are going with their moms on a graduation trip are going to want a different type of resort than a couple going on an anniversary trip.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many different resorts out there. In the Cancun region alone, I would say there are well over 300 resorts in that area, and it can be a lot to shift through. And that's where we see our value really shine, is our knowledge and expertise, both our own personal knowledge from our own travels and as an agency as a whole. Because when we travel, like Kayla did for the Jamaica trip, she comes back and shares that with all of the agents here at Pineapple Escapes Travel. So we all benefit when any of our agents travel. So I think that's really important to think about. I do think that, as you mentioned, the budget thing is an issue, and you have to really look at the best value. If you are only looking at, I only want to spend $5,000, you might not end up where you really want to be. It might be better to save for another 3 or 4 months and wait until you have what you need than to go and be really disappointed. So working with us, being honest and upfront with us, if you do have a bottom line, tell us. We're still going to tell you what we think you want based on other criteria, but we can maybe figure something out. Maybe you stay for fewer days. Maybe we modify it in some way to make it work for you, but we will definitely work with you on those things. So good point about budget, Kayla. Any other thoughts in general about budgeting for all-inclusives or that sort of thing?
Make sure you bring small bills to tip your drivers, tip your bartenders, except for at Sandals. Sandals, you're not allowed to tip.
Yes.
But yeah, bring small bills and be prepared to tip the people that are helping you.
Yeah. And I think that's a great way to look at it too. Like, I'm kind of a secrets girl myself, so I always take plenty to tip housekeeping, tip your driver, tip whoever, your bellboy, whoever brings your bags. I mean, there's a lot of tipping involved, but I budget for that as well. And I try to prepare my clients for that as well. But Sandals is one that they're like, no tipping, do not tip us. But I do think you see that in the initial price point too. Like, it's a little bit higher than you're going to see for a secrets perhaps, but you're not going to have to worry about tipping. And there are some more activities and inclusions on site that kind of balance that out as well, I think.
Right.
So we've both traveled to all these resorts. We have all of this knowledge that we can use to benefit our clients, all of the knowledge from the other agents in our agency. When you think about even just what you learned last week in Jamaica, you talked about like the size of the resort and how that compares to the different ones that you saw. Think about that in terms of other resorts that you've seen on other islands. Is there a reason that you would pick Jamaica over Punta Cana or Mexico, those sorts of things? Like, what's your thought process there?
So for me, I think you just have to look at what the client really wants. Some clients really love the beach and they want a nice beach that they can actually get into and swim. I actually had a client for spring break. That's what they told me. They said, we went to Mexico, we stayed at a resort and we couldn't even get in the water, and we're from the Midwest. Okay. We want to just go to the warmth and the water.
Yeah.
So she's like, that's the most important thing to us, is finding a nice beach. And so we did it. They loved their trip. They had a great time. The water was clear blue and it was perfect. So I think really knowing what your client wants and needs. There are some resorts that if they're pool people, this is the perfect resort for them. If they're beach people, you got to know that. So that way you don't put them someplace that the waves are too rough or has that seagram everywhere or those different factors. So you really got to know your clients to know where to put them. I feel like for myself or anybody that wants those calm, clear waters, places like Jamaica are going to be a great option for them because those waters are nice and clear. You can get in, you can swim, you can lounge around. I did bring my giant pineapple floaty, and I took some time to just lay in the water with my pineapple floaty. And it was great.
Yeah. And those pictures were super cute too. And so that's one of the things that I think is so fun about traveling with the other agents and getting these experiences too, is we really get to know each other and get to have these experiences together, which I think is a lot of fun. So if you haven't looked at Kayla's Instagram yet, go take a peek, because she's got some funny reels on there from when her and Audra were in Jamaica recently. So finally, for those of us that are heading to an all-inclusive resort soon, what is one item on your must-have packing list that you always take besides your pineapple floaty?
Besides my pineapple floaty, which Audra made fun of me because I even brought a little blow-up thing to just blow it up myself. She was making fun of me, but hey. I always bring a tumbler and a reusable straw, because they're all going to those paper, whatever those things are, and they're just gross after a while. So I always make sure that any of my all-inclusive clients, that if it's within enough time, I am ordering them a special personalized cup, because the ones that they give you are just terrible. The straws are terrible. So bring your own cup, bring a reusable straw. You can even get like packing ones. They collapse down, fit right in your bag. It's great. That my number one tip is to bring a reusable.
Yeah, I agree. So I send that to if any client, it's their first time going to an all-inclusive with me, they also get a personalized cup and a reusable straw, because there is nothing worse than your ice and your drink being all gross and those paper straws. Like I can't. Like a reusable straw that you can wash out in your sink is worth every penny. So.
And really, when you go up to the bar, it's like getting 2 drinks in your cup.
They fill the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're getting a more bang for your buck there.
For your all-inclusive buck that's already included.
Right.
But even better. At least then you don't have to keep going back, and it keeps your drink cold, which those are benefits too. And it's also really nice to have, like, if you're in the swim-up bar, like, at least has a lid. So if like water's like, I don't know, there's just something gross about like the water splashing, and like the thought of that in my drink is not appealing to me. So I like that too. I like having the lid on it to kind of help. So.
Yep, for sure.
Any other final thoughts on all-inclusives, Kayla, that you want to be sure to get in here before we wrap it up for today?
If you have not been to an all-inclusive, reach out to one of us at Pineapple Escapes. We'll find the perfect resort for you. It's the best.
Yeah. And we love all-inclusives. We love all-inclusive vacations. We have lots of experience and expertise to help you make it perfect. So Kayla, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been super fun talking to you and getting to talk about your trip to Jamaica. I was really interested to hear about how all of that went. And I know our listeners have enjoyed listening to your insights about all-inclusives as well. If you're listening and ready to book your next all-inclusive vacation, reach out to us. We would love to help you find the perfect resort for your next getaway. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and follow us for more travel tips and insights. Until next time, remember, travel makes life sweeter. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Travel Tidbits Podcast, where we believe travel makes life sweeter. The team at Pineapple Escapes Travel would love to help you plan a trip filled with lasting memories. Visit us online at www.pineappleescapes.com to start planning your next adventure.